oh my God, it's Hotline League and it's post-finals and things happened and we're going to talk about them. It's going to be the most epic, amazing show since last Saturday when we did the show on stage, and then there's an audience for half of it. Let's see. My constant co-host, Mark Zimmerman, is here. How's it going, Mark?
It's going good, man. I just watched House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. One of those shows is good. One of them is a show that cost roughly $1 billion.
I definitely have enjoyed the first episode. I'm gonna watch it on stream as a sponsored thing after, so maybe we be coy about it. But I definitely enjoyed the first episode of Rings of Power more than I enjoyed the first two of House of the Dragon. Let me put it that way.
You're on crack cocaine.
Maybe we can talk about it later, but maybe not on this show. But I definitely, if we get for the same reasons that we talked about House of the Dragon last week, it's literally just there's no mystery or magic left in that show. It's literally just like, who's gonna kill who? Oh my God!
There's nothing at all in Rings of Power.
I disagree. Anyway,
just fucking.
Let's talk to our guest for the show, which is none other than the head coach of the Summer 2022 championship team and the 8th round draft pick for top lane for 100 Thieves, Maxwell Kazin Waldo.
Thank you, Travis, for the introduction. Yes. I was going to ask you why you thought that was the best picture to use of me on your introduction on Twitter.
It's because when you search Max Waldo on Google image searches...
Is that the first image that comes up?
It's one of the first that pop up.
You don't understand. The Travis meta is to always take an old or outdated picture of the person that is appearing on the show. So this is just the meta.
And then you get more engagement that way. Like you probably would not have interacted with that tweet, but then you said something like "really" or something. I forget what it was, but
I don't think I replied to it.
I get no. You did.
I did. Oh,
yes.
Oops.
Your social media manager replied for you, I guess.
Oops.
Oh, is that what happened? Do you have a social media manager? Is your entire online persona? You just wrote "dude."
Oh.
You mean Portillo wrote "dude"?
Portillo wrote
right
"dude"?
now. Right now.
No. Like earlier in reply, I put it in the Twitch chat so everybody could see that I'm not a liar. So apparently,
I believe you.
You're a fraud. Okay. Now that we've established your fraudulence, I want to shout out Alienware and Grubhub for sponsoring the show. But let's get into how things are going for you, Max. How was the whole journey to the finals, and how was the weekend besides lifting the trophy?
All right. We arrived Thursday, and I think we had scrims scheduled Friday and Saturday, but Thursday was supposed to be just a whole travel day, and we scrimmed like up until that point in the week. So we actually didn't do a whole lot for the first couple of days because on Friday we decided it was better to not scrim either of the finals teams. So we canceled scrims on Friday, and then on Saturday we just scrimmed like an amateur team. So we really didn't play that much League of Legends in Chicago. Like show up Thursday, don't play. Friday, don't play. Saturday, scrim an amateur team. Sunday, play 80 minutes and trophy.
Was it even 80 minutes? I feel like it was even less than that. But it might have been about 80. Yeah.
Someone told me it was 82 minutes.
Yeah.
It was the second fastest finals ever.
And what was the fastest finals ever? The fastest finals ever was in spring of this year, right? When it was Evil Geniuses against 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves has been a part. All 4 of their finals have been a part of the 4 fastest finals of all time. They're now number 1 and number 2 in losses. The 3rd fastest final, they won over Team Liquid. The 4th fastest, they lost to Team Liquid in 2018. If they're in the finals, you know it's going to suck one way or another.
It's an interesting way of putting it. Okay, so and then you won. There's a still image that LS I think tweeted that is you looking very triumphant. So what was the sort of moment of winning that game or that match? Because it was funny talking to Berserker. It took a little bit, I think, for it to set in for him because he was saying that like he's like, oh, I guess we just won like in 3 games super quick. So I don't know if you felt the same way or I don't know. Did it feel, because it's funny to hear that it felt even anticlimactic in some way for the players that were on the stage, right? So I'm curious what it was like for you.
Yeah, it was anticlimactic, but I don't like using the word anticlimactic even. I would just say that because in the finals we weren't that nervous, we went in like pretty confident and like focused on what we needed to do. That excitement or like nervousness was kind of low. So when you win, it's not like you get like really excited the moment that you win, because the whole way going through it, you're just not that excited or nervous. So because things are like going according to plan, because things are going steady, it wouldn't make sense for us to have this huge like pop off celebration. Like things were so close and tense when they weren't.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Mark, I don't know if you have questions for Max before we get into calls, but maybe we can do like a preliminary conversation.
Sure. I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to cannibalize viewers too hard. But I just like personally for you, how has this year been? Because like it was obviously an up and down year, and I think there's a conversation we had about fair weather fans and whatnot. How has it just been for you though? Like kind of coming in the middle of spring, that roster and like everything was kind of spurned by a lot of fans and stuff for a little bit, and then like
middle of spring
suddenly,
is a generous way of saying like 2 weeks into the.
I'm just saying that it was a up and down year, and suddenly all the fans are like, "Yeah, we always loved Cloud9, guys." It was funny because I pulled a graphic that said like that referenced the fact that LS was released in week 3, and it got booed in the stadium.
Yes.
So it's been a weird year.
Yeah, I guess it's the public opinion is not so consistent in that way, right? Like Cloud9 wins, and then they're like, "Yeah, I always believed every second. I knew, I believed in them." But it might be the same people saying that like Cloud9 is a horrible organization, like 3 months ago. My answer for me, like what helped me just like perform the best and focus on like what I had to do, was to mostly, and in as many ways as I could, stop looking at social media, positive or negative. So the same thing went for like when we won finals. I did go on Twitter to tweet, "Thank you for supporting the players," and almost in response to the February tweet, like "Please continue to support the players." But then, other than that, I've tried to stay off social media, like just as much viciously as I was staying off it like months ago, because the same way that it didn't help me make better decisions when there was a lot of negativity, it's not going to help me make better decisions now just because it's positive. So I determined it wasn't very helpful to look so much at social media or to be so involved in it.
Yeah.
So what do you do with your non-social media time then? So there's obviously a lot of scrims and VOD review and systems management. What's Max Waldo do to unwind if not doom scroll Twitter?
You play games. So I'll play League of Legends or I'll play Pokemon. I'll just try to like relax and decompress and think about the things that happen in a day and think about the things I have to do tomorrow. The C9's helped me like section my day out into like some pretty rigid hours. So I'll wake up at 7 and I'll get ready for my meeting at 9. Then we'll have like workout at 10, and then we'll eat at 11, scrims from 12 to 5. And then there'll be sometimes meetings after scrims, and we'll go to like 6 or 7. Normally I'm done with work by the time we get to like 7 or 8 p.m. And I try to go to sleep at 11, so I have like 3 or 4, pretty comfortably 3 or 4 hours where I can do whatever I want. I can play a game of League of Legends. I can play Ornn for a couple hours. I can play Pokemon, focus on something else, so that I go into the next day like totally prepared and not like carrying a bunch of stress. But it seems like when I was like scrolling through Twitter, it was just adding on to like the next thing that I had to do. It was just adding weight and adding more stress. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no! I thought something bad happened. It's all right.
Oh no, you're good. No, you're good.
I thought my mic fucked up.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So then, what are all of your players as Pokemon, top to bottom? If Pokemon's your hobby.
This question's so hard. Oh my god.
Okay.
While you're thinking about that,
150 because I'm a boomer and anything else.
While you're thinking about that, maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe we won't. Mark, How was your weekend for being in Chicago, being at finals, et cetera, et cetera? Because maybe we can talk a little bit about the event itself before we take calls.
All right. Well, he thinks. I had a pretty good time. Not any major issues on my end. I didn't eat deep dish pizza. I didn't eat Portillo's or whatever it's called. I didn't eat anything special. I went out twice, I guess, total. Otherwise, mostly stuck to the hotel. I heard there were some problems with FanFest both days a little bit. But other than that, I think the event seemed to go well.
I was going to say, other than the FanFest stuff, well, here's what I'll say. For me personally, this is the best finals weekend I can remember from a personal experience standpoint. Like Houston was a really nice appetizer to this, but being in another virtually sold out arena that had like the full in the round experience was incredible. I thought the opening ceremony was probably the best that they've had for LCS, at least, and as long as I can remember. Doing Live Hotline League is always great. I saw there were so many people that I hadn't seen in a very long time. You know, people came out for Houston, but for this, there were just a ton of people hanging out up there. Dyrus came up to me as soon as I got in on Saturday into the arena and was talking to me for a while. It was super cool to see him, and he was even like, "Oh yeah, you know, being back, it's a little emotional," and so that was kind of like the precursor to seeing his sort of emotion pour out whenever he was walking out. The Saturday thing where you got to see all the old pros walk out was, I thought, it was very meaningful to me, at least, and I love seeing Bjergsen and Peter hold the trophy together. Whoever made the decision to have them do that together and walk out together, I thought
that was Fionn.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
dude.
He tweeted about it. Yeah, he said that he made that suggestion a couple months ago, and then it actually happened.
No, that was brilliant. I thought that was super, super smart because their stories are so intertwined, and like I think people argue back and forth about which one is the greatest of all time. So I just think overall it was really great. And then I really enjoyed. It was super fun because on Sunday morning, I got this random DM from somebody at Riot, a really cool person who was like, "Hey, we're asking everybody for their predictions to put on broadcast." And I'd never been asked before. None of my predictions have ever been shown on broadcast or whatever. And so then I was just like, you know what? I bet you anything after all of the best of 4s and 5s that this is going to be a 3-0 for C9. And so I threw that out there, and I was the only one from all the analyst desk and all the influencers. I later on found out, and co-streamers, Captain Flowers, I guess, also put it, but it was really cool.
He only does 3-0s
to get it right. And then whenever I don't think it got too much attention, but whenever C9 came in for the press conference, they were all like cheering me and saying Travis Gafford, the only man who believed in the 3-0 or whatever. It was fun to see. The players had noticed it, and Jensen came up to me later and was talking to me about it later on in the evening. So it just overall, like, there were so many great moments that I experienced at that event that I just absolutely loved it. I thought the crowd was great. I thought everything was super cool. So it was the best I've felt about any league event in many, 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 many years. So I had a great time. How was it for you, Max? Did you enjoy yourself, or was it kind of a letdown?
I like the Midwest. I'm from.
I was supposed to make a joke about you lifting a trophy, but
oh, I just like Chicago. I had a great time.
Yeah. No, Chicago's
just even
great.
just walking around the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then other than that, like it was all right. Yeah, nothing too special. But like the Chicago, it rained. That was crazy.
Yeah. It did. Which is funny because apparently it was raining back in LA too. But all right. Well, there's a lot to talk about on the show. Mark is it looks like he's already starting to pull some people. But of the things to talk about, we obviously have we got MVP that got announced. We have the whole weekend, all the finals. We have Team Liquid
World's
basically announced. Oh yeah, World's Draw, which I think I'd love to talk about World's Draw within the context of maybe C9 and stuff, but I don't think we want to start getting into. We've got like multiple weeks ahead of us where nothing's gonna be happening. So maybe next week.
I won't do format stuff this one, but I the two takes I've pulled so far around Worlds are about like NA and like chances, not about
yeah.
broader.
We'll talk about groups and all that stuff later on because we're gonna have weeks to be able to get in onto all that stuff. So
well, I just said that's what I pulled.
Well, I don't want to
What-
dive in on if you've pulled already a couple. Sure, hopefully they are within the context of like C9 or something like that. Because
Yeah,
what are we
one
going to talk
is.
about for the next 3 weeks, Mark? If we're talking about
You
world
just
groups
repeat
right now.
topics, dude. What do you want?
Okay, great. Thanks. The
Play-ins
content
isn't it,
master,
like-
Mark Zimmerman over here. I praise himself.
Play-in starts in 2 weeks, dude.
3. Or no, I guess 2. But
I'm
whatever.
pretty sure
We got
it's
means
2.
we have 2 more shows before play-in starts. So that's 4 hours of content we have to figure out.
It's 2
Anyway,
episodes.
we also have Team Liquid announcing that they're done with the super team meta, which I think will have pretty big ramifications. Some rumors already coming out. Santorin saying that he's not retiring, which is great to see. So yeah, I think there's
Hans
a whole
is
lot to
Hans
talk
is leaving.
about. Is that official?
No, but it's rumored and probably
Yes.
true,
Yes.
given the Team Liquid statement.
I will put something out there right now, which is this is just a prediction. Okay, it's not a report or anything like that, but I don't think that we will see Core and Bjerg on the same team next year, because I've heard that like some of the dysfunction on TL just came from like very different viewpoints. Not that they hated each other or anything like that, but they just view the game very differently. And so, as we I guess want to start talking about TL rumors and all that stuff, I would not expect to see both of them on the same team. I don't know what that means for TL, but that would be my surprise. Not my surprise, my expectation. So just figured I would throw that out there. Anyway, Wulu reported Hans may be leaving TL. So there we go. Somebody says Travis Gafford reported Core and Bjerg have a blood feud. I don't think that's accurate. Okay. Should we get into callers, Mark and Max?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a lot of new callers today, which is cool. Seeing a lot of the green plants in chat. That means Max Waldo has significant draw.
Yeah. These are
Which is
all
cool.
Awesome.
These are
So
all.
I made sure to avoid all those people because I don't trust them.
Yes, exactly. They're all hardcore LS stands that are coming here to rip Max Waldo apart.
No, that'll be
Okay.
nice.
Just kidding. Okay, so Mark is off grabbing the first caller. Thank you to some folks who have subbed. Mad Fishy, Atypical Timber, Tan of Beast, Cathral, Lindsay Kinsey, who gifted a sub, Max Drixton, No Foolin, Top Notch Squatch, Seaman Demon, Seaman Demon for 1 year. Also Seaman Demon, I guess Mark threw a Blabbers Crabber shirt at them, since that's why they subbed. Do you know this, Mark? That apparently you threw a shirt, your Blabbers Crabber shirt at Seaman Demon, and he promised to sub because of it. That's very cool. All right.
I don't remember the sub part. I just remember he DM'd me, and I'm like, oh, I know Seaman Demon. Sure, I'll throw it at him.
Yeah. Double G is here. Double G, where are you calling from?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So it's a little bit of a two-parter. My first thing is I called in a couple weeks ago after C9 beat EG, and I said that if they kept playing the way they did against EG, they'd be favorites to win the split. And lo and behold, they won the split. So doing a little bit of a victory lap here. But my real meat of my take here is that I think that after we've seen Cloud9 go through the entire playoffs, I think that they have a real shot of making a deep run at Worlds. I know that they've gotten a T1 and EDG group, but Cloud9 is a team that has defied expectations every year. And I think that with this roster, every single player on this roster has world experience except Berserker, and they've all had incredible international performances. Fudge was probably our best international player last year. Blabber, he's been looking great on the international stage for years. Jensen, I don't really need to say anything about that. And Sven is a 7-year veteran. He's played international since 2015. So nothing really to say about him. I think he can handle the pressure. So I think that if Berserker's able to keep up his performance that he did in NA, I think that it's really hard to see any weak link on Cloud9 right now. And I think that they can really make an impact at Worlds, even if they have a difficult group.
All right, so we're starting off the show already predicting C9 deep run at Worlds. All right, as always, we'll do the classic question, which is
he earned this by coming on and calling the C9 victory
define
when we doubted. We both doubted.
deep run. Every time we get to Worlds, everybody always wants to say they'll go far or they'll do really well, and we always have to then get a definition for what that is.
So, I mean, I think even getting out of groups with a potential SKT, EDG, and Fnatic group is already an incredible run. But I think if they are able to get out of this group, they're going to make semifinals. So I think semifinals should be what Cloud9's able to do. And I think they could, depending on, it all depends on how the draw comes out for quarters and stuff. But they could even make finals if they're not running into like Gen G in semis.
Okay, so C9, the take is C9 can make finals if they dodge Gen G and semis. What about having to dodge them in quarters? Do you think that Gen G, why won't they?
He just means that their side of the bracket completely.
Oh sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What do I think? I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know how everyone else knows what's gonna happen. I have no fucking clue. Like, last year, so much stuff didn't make any sense at Worlds. Like, we had this joke after we lost like 9 games in a row against RNG. We beat them once. And we were like, no one beats Cloud9 10 times in a row in scrims. And then we beat them on stage. We had that win against RNG. So, like, I don't know. Do you think RNG thought we were going to beat them? Like, we didn't. I don't know who thought we were just going to, like, who woke up in the morning like, they're fucked. We got them today. And then we did. So I don't know what's going to happen. And I think I said this in my interview that I have a DGON after finals, is that I don't even think so hard about like what's going to happen so much in the future. And sometimes I think too much about what happened in the past too. And I think doing either of these things like gets me stuck in what might happen or what has already happened. But for me, I just try to think about like what's going to happen today or tomorrow, because it's so hard to like nail down like outcomes like this. I just have no clue at all what's going to happen in what order.
Okay, so you don't know, but so, you want to talk about the past. Question. You don't want to talk about the past or the present, or past or future. So let's talk about the present. Do you think that that C9 currently in the present is internationally competitive with top teams from other major regions?
Without playing against any of them, yes. Okay. But with that in mind, right? That we haven't played.
You don't have the context yet. Yeah.
Yeah. With no context, yeah, I think we're competitive.
You haven't gone last year. You haven't gone 1-9 versus them in scrims yet, so you can say,
yeah. Without the context, I think the argument's better than. But yeah, I think we're competitive for sure.
So here's one thing. Oh, sorry. Finish up. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I just like. It's so hard to predict outcomes. Like, we can be competitive and then look like TS7 goes 0-6, or we can be competitive and beat everybody. Like, being competitive just means that it'll probably be close, and I think it will. Yeah.
One thing that Double G said that I do kind of agree with is that there doesn't feel like a weak point on the team right now. There's been times where teams have had champions, and you have a feeling like, oh, the top lane isn't really going to be able to play the carry matchups versus the other top talent when they get there, or your mid laner is not really going to be doing the matchups well, or whatever. Like every position has had that. If there was one, it might be Sven if it turns into like an engage heavy meta, because we just haven't seen him in it. Like, that would probably be the most identifiable weakness on Cloud9. But if the meta doesn't change that much, then it's not really that much of a concern. So in that sense, I think Double G does make a good point that this C9 lineup, when you guys made your playoff run, I said it as well, it felt like you guys have the best player in pretty much every position, top to bottom right now, which is not always the case.
Do we have
feels good.
Do we have a Berserker take at all later on, Mark? Because I have a question.
I can find one. There are people.
No. I want to ask a question. I just want making sure that I wasn't going to dodge into this, but it feels like a pretty common sentiment is C9 was heavily helped by this being a very ADC centric meta, and that Berserker playing in it, like it was very good for Cloud9. With Zeri nerfs and stuff like that coming, is there any concern that I just, the curiosity is like, do we think that the meta will shift away, that Berserker won't be able to have the impact at Worlds as perhaps he can have right now?
Maybe if the whole AD carry meta changes, but like just Zeri, I don't think does that. I mean, right now AD carries in general, like when you pair them with enchanters, are really strong. So I don't think that's specific to Zeri alone. And Cloud9 plays a lot of different AD carries that a lot of other teams like weren't playing in playoffs. We were playing teams like Twitch and Nyla as well, and it was like off of Yuumi. I think Yuumi was like a big connecting piece for us. Enchanters are a big connecting piece. So I like what Mark said, that if the support meta changes to like engage supports, this will be something that we're accounting for, that will be really focused on improving, because a lot of our success has been like in an AD carry focused meta with enchanters and engaged junglers. So if that sort of structure changes, we'll be very aware of that, and that would be something that we're focused on improving.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Mark is a Max won't commit, but do you think C9 can make a deep run at Worlds?
Well, what Max said is true. You never know what's going to happen. There's been two groups where I'm like, C9 is fucked. Last year, and they get out in 2018, and they got out. So here's what I'll say. C9 is fucked.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I like your shirt.
Somebody asked me what I thought, like I think at the event or something like that. They're like, what do I think chances are for NA at Worlds? And I think my answer was just like, with this fucking format, who knows? Like, it feels so often like it just comes down to luck or how you high roll on a specific day, because there's so few games that, like, I'm just, the amount of times that NA's gone 3-3 and then lost the tiebreaker, it's like, it's so common. And so it just makes it, in my opinion, really tough to ever say, like, one way or the other, which is kind of what you were saying, Max. But I just, like, for me, I think a huge part of that uncertainty just comes from a meta that does not do a really great job of delineating very closely competitive teams.
The metas has been weird, but that's more of an anything than other places, though it is a little shaky. But like, even like Max talking about their scrims during MSI and then finding stage wins, fucking FPX, Doinby is on that team and he's like, yeah, we're crushing people, 90% chance we're good and we're in the clear, and then they don't get out of groups, like anything can happen. So like Blabber said in Twitch chat, they're gonna win Worlds. So
thank you, Blabber.
Wait, did Blabber say where is he? I didn't even
and he knows. Blabber actually knows.
I need to find him so that I can give him mod or something. I don't know where he's hiding.
Can I mod him?
I don't think
know
so.
if I have that power.
You might be able to
I can block him.
You might be
able
to
block him.
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, Double G, for the call. Anything you want to follow up on before I give you your shout out moment?
I hope you guys have a take on this later, but honestly, fuck the Worlds format. I think group stage is awful. We need double elim, and I think that there needs to be huge changes for Riot's international approach. It's just honestly pathetic. We only have 2 international events every year. I know I'm huffing a lot of copium and hopium with the Cloud9 take, but I'm still optimistic. So here's my I've been very optimistic about Riot lately. However, I will say people were so angry about this format last year, and they ran it back, and they never gave any excuse for why they're running it back, or like, oh, don't worry, we're changing it in 2023 or anything like that. So my new thought is #fuck the format. So if you're going to tweet #Worlds, right after it, tweet #fuck the format, because I feel like we need to bully Riot into actually changing the format. Mark, trying to get his head out of the screen. So that means the current TGI hashtags are #LCS is thriving and #fuck the format. Okay, thank you, Double G. Anything you want to shout out?
Oh, I had an extra thing I wanted to ask him. I wanted to ask about
sure.
the World's Finals match. If there's like double elim, if there should be let's say there is double elim, right, and you have a winner side and a loser side in finals. Should the format of world finals, that match, do you think that should be any different? And do you think like the winner side should have some sort of advantage
I've been
other than just
saying
side selection?
Yeah, no, I've been saying this for LCS finals as well. I think that it needs to be shifted to a best of 7 with the winner getting a one game lead, because the only thing that really changes is that it potentially increases the game potential just by 1. So you really only have to account for an extra potential hour if the winner gets that extra game. So I think that it's probably the best format, and it still rewards the winner for coming in on the winner's bracket, but it doesn't leave the loser to be completely unable to win the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't heard this idea before, that it could be a best of 7, but you already have a match from winner, so the winner side would just have to win 3. Like, it would be a best of 5 from the winner's approach, right? But actually, you could lose 3 games and win 3 and win. So from winner side, you only need like a 50% win rate. Interesting.
Yeah,
I would have to think about
and
this more.
if you're coming in with beating the best teams on the winners bracket, then I think that you do deserve that advantage. That's just my take. I'm sure everyone else has their own take, but that's how I think it should be.
Yeah, like I don't think this would be possible, but like the most exciting idea I ever thought of was the winner side team has to be actually beaten twice. So the losers bracket team, if they win, they would play on Monday. They would play the next day. But I don't think that could happen. I think the amount of production that would have to take to go into a Monday championship Monday.
I mean, how do you sell tickets to that? Like, it's not very practical. Okay.
Yeah.
Double G, any shoutouts?
Shout out, of course, to you, Travis. I loved your in-person Hotline League. I wasn't able to attend in Chicago, but I was watching it all. So
Nice.
I
Thank
think
you.
that was great. I really want to shout out Max and all of the Cloud9 folk. You guys got so much shit in spring, and I think it was entirely unjustified. So thank you so much for your tenacity and keeping it up. And go NA at Worlds. You know, I want to see EG, 100 Thieves, and Cloud9 all succeed. So also, last shout out, Alienware and Grubhub. Travis, you do great with your sponsors, so thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the call. We'll catch you next time. Arsh, please stop saying that I'm confirming things on Twitter. I was saying I had heard they disagreed. This is not like me officially reporting. Like, I have it from multiple sources that they hate each other. Oh, Arsh has just said in chat he's not even listening to the audio, so that's probably why he's misquoting me on Twitter. Okay, thank you to Turtle Matey for the 2 years. Defitch, Ventus. Oh, Defitch at tier 2. Thank you. Ventus, X Rico, Gravity Music, St. Louis Slayer for 50 months. 50. Donut 533, Bob Blah Blah, and Flick Nickum. We've got Griffonwing here. Griffin, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to turn you up because you're a little quiet. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Oh boy. So my take is I don't think any Western teams are going to make it out of groups, NA or EU.
Okay. Getting all the world stuff out of the way right now. No NA or EU teams make it out. Who does make it out?
All right, so I'm going to also run through my plans because that's kind of important. Obviously, DRX and RNG are going to smash Group 2, no question. And then for Group 1, it's probably either more likely going to be Fnatic and EG. And let me double check. Although, however, I do think maybe Beyond or Detonation Focus Me can squeeze in if either EG or Fnatic shit the bed. Just depends, but I'm leaning towards those two. So which means
Can you also get a little closer to your mic? Sorry, and maybe speak a little louder. Kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, DRX would automatically go to C, and then RNG into D, EG into B, and then Fnatic into A. So looking at Group A, God, this is gonna take forever. EDG and T1. I just think that the Korean Chinese scenes are just on a much higher level. The Chinese scenes in particular. And then going to the other one, JDG, and
You
I
got
think I
quiet again.
crushed the other two.
Stop
I'm not doing
whispering.
anything. I'm not whispering.
Talk louder.
Sorry. I am. Yeah, do you want me to just hit every single group of my opinions?
I know. I
No.
just want you to say if you think it's like all Korean, all Chinese teams or something like that.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You think all Western teams are fucked? EU sucks
All
too,
Western
right?
teams are screwed, and it's only Korean and
little.
Chinese teams. We got a full quarterfinals full of LCK and LPL teams.
I believe so.
And why do you think that? You just think the West sucks?
No, it's just I think they're fine. It's just I just think the Western teams, the Eastern teams, are just on a much higher level from the games that I have seen. Especially, I watched most of the playoffs from both sides, and this is very much the eye test, essentially. Oh
Gotcha.
God.
So you watch all the playoffs and you think the West sucks and the East is good. Okay.
Not in so many words. It's just
What-
the skill gap.
Did you see it differently last year?
A little bit. That was actually it's hard to tell. I barely remember the games back then.
Yeah, because I would just wonder. Like, it sounds like you might have came in with the same take last year.
No, this is my first time. I wasn't even listening to this podcast
Well,
last year.
I think he means specifically that this has been a long held sentiment that all the Eastern teams are better than all the Western teams, and then like inevitably that doesn't quite happen. Though predicting which one's going to choke might be hard.
Mm.
Yeah, I will say I can totally see one of those Western. Like, I'm not going to die on this hill. I would like for one of them to go through, and it's entirely possible for one of these Eastern teams to just pull a FPX from last year. That's totally possible.
All right. Let's speed run this call.
That's just hard to predict.
Mark, you pulled this. So what do you think? Is the West fucked?
No,
Why?
because the East sucks.
Okay.
RNG is a 4 seed. Keck W.
Great
Former-
I love
analysis.
the show. I love the show.
MSI champs. Terrible.
I mean, I'm trying, Max. Max, any thoughts?
So far, the interactions have been the West. They can't do it. They suck. And then Mark, they will do it because the East sucks.
Yeah.
But can you deny my facts or logic?
Well, I'm gonna defer to what Blabber said in that Cloud9's going to win Worlds. I can pretty confidently say that, and I think out of everyone who spoke so far, he's the most credible.
That's true.
To be able to say that, he's actually going to be responsible for the win. So I think we're favored right now to win.
Fantastic. Okay.
So for
Thank
some
you,
real
Griffin
takes, hold on, wait.
Mark,
I'm
you
not
already
gonna
said
just-
your bit. You said you already
I
do.
was Travis is bored because it's a Worlds call. I'm not bored because it's a
I'm
Worlds
bored
call.
because
Worlds
I've done
group draw happened.
11 years of hearing people say, well, the West sucks, and the East is really good, and no Western team will make it out, and they always
Well,
get
you
out. And
better
we called this.
fucking quit,
We
'cause
pulled
you're
this
gonna
as
hear
the
this the rest
second
of your
take
life.
after a like
Forever.
rocket LCS finals.
Forever.
So what do you want? Say
Until
it.
the end of time, you'll be hearing the East is better than the West. Here's the deal. RNG is actually scary as a 4 seed. LNG was not great last year. Who was the one in 2020 who like fucking almost lost in play-ins? LGD. Yeah, LNG was better than LGD, and RNG is better than either of them. Fucking NG names, all of them. LGD, RNG. Anyways, the point is, this is a time to be legitimately scared, I'd say. But I also feel like we're sending decent teams this time as well. I think EG is hard to judge with like the change that they just made, but I don't think that they're like ceilinged in any way, and they still pushed 100 Thieves to 5 games. C9, we just talked about being good, so I don't know. I'm not doomered, despite the fact that I respect the Eastern teams this year. I'm not doomered about it. I don't think Korea is the turbo insane. Gen.G is clearly the best team out of there. T1 very good. DRX, all of them have talent, but like I don't think it's beyond the possibility that like an EU or NA team can get out over some of those other teams.
No, I mean, look, the results so far in all the playoffs, or not all the results, but a lot of the games throughout all the playoffs and all the different major regions have had really weird games where a lot of things go to best of 5. I feel like that means that there's a lot of variance. There's not going to be very much scrimming this year in comparison to normal, and scrimming will probably look kind of funky compared to normal. So I feel like that's going to be a thing. It is in North America, which is not been. It's it's been in Asia the last couple of. Well, I guess it was in technically Europe last year, but whatever. So I just don't. I think and the hashtag fuck the format. Like you end up with really weird things in this format because people end up one tiebreaker away from getting out. So we have no idea what's going to happen. Griffonwing, thank you so much for the call. Sorry if I yelled at you. I didn't mean to. I did mean to, but
I don't want to have this opinion, but I just think that
somebody has to.
It's not Worlds if someone doesn't call in and say, "NA bad, upvotes left."
Yes.
Someone's got to do it.
Anything you want to shout out? Was you. Griffonwing.
Just a couple. The YouTube channels Onivia and Epic Skillshot for uploading VODs for the other regions. That we keep up. Shout out my group basically my group of friends I play League with. Ivan, Cammy, Paradox, and Mini Shauna, even though she feeds our games. And a big shout out to you, Max. As a salty 100 Thieves fan, congratulations, honestly.
Oh, thank you. I also like those YouTube channels.
Yep.
I would like to support them.
Thank you to Griffonwing for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to take a quick sponsor break to talk about Alienware. We love Alienware. I know I've talked about this before, but they are currently, we have a cool thing that we do where if you purchase something through alienware.com/Travis and you live in the U.S., it's unfortunately limited to the U.S. stuff because of how they're set up right now, but a portion of that will go to help fund Travis Gafford Industries, which is great because I just had to drop so much money on buying tickets for Mark Zimmerman for group stage last week.
I'm paying you back for those.
My credit card is hurting. We'll figure it out. I know. I want you to be able to. You'll need to be doing stuff if we end up doing.
You want to be able to hang it over my head. I got you.
Yeah, exactly. No, I already have my C9 prediction, my finals prediction for that. Regardless, check out alienware.com/Travis. Also, look at Mark's really great headset. Isn't that thing really cool looking? I think it's pretty cool looking. Did you know it's wireless? So he can sit here and then he can unplug his cable and walk around. He's like completely free to do whatever he needs to do in his apartment. He's going to go say hello to his girlfriend and get his water bottle, I guess. So either way, thank you so much to Alienware. I don't ever want to sound repetitive on this stuff. Like I just went to Chicago and it was really expensive, as travel often is, and Alienware makes that type of stuff possible. There was quite frankly not very much media in that press room, and esports media kind of dropping like flies these days. So I appreciate Alienware keeping me afloat, and I hope all of you guys do too, because I'm trying my best to create good content for you guys, and if it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd be able to. So thank you guys for the support, and thank you for supporting Alienware. All right, Mark is off to grab the next caller. Thank you to ProStar for 1 year. Easy, stay safe. Dak Jamkin and Takuchi. Thank you, everybody. How you doing, Max? Did you figure out your Pokemon yet?
Oh, I've been writing down like categories. So like I have like 1 or 2 Pokemon for like every player now.
Okay. Good.
But like as we have like breaks in between questions, I'm like looking at the big list of the original Pokemon,
Yes.
and I'm like, got one.
Good. Well, by the end of the show, hopefully you'll be able to give us
To
the
reveal,
definitive list.
yes, to give the reveal. Although Sven's the hardest. I'm trying to think of like Pokemon that remind me of Sven, and I also coming up with a couple takes that I'm interested in talking about. But let's hear this one first.
Okay, if there's ever something you want to talk about, there's a good chance I'm not going to find a caller who has it, so just mention them at some point or put them in Skype or something.
I can
try. I'll try and find it. Yeah.
I'll just say it.
Okay.
But I'll wait for a moment.
Gengariffith is here. Gengariffith, where are you calling from?
Lexington, Kentucky.
Kentucky. What do you want to talk about on the show today?
So my take is that all the teams that have heavily invested in their coaching staff did well or above expectations this year. Like EG, CLG, 100T, C9, even TL Academy, right? Teams that want to rebuild or do well next year need to be looking to invest in their coaches first and then worry about player rosters.
Who else is... Sorry, your full list of organizations that invested heavily in coaching was C9, 100T,
TL, 100 Thieves,
TL, EG.
Oh, TL Academy in my mind, but we don't need to go there. It's fine.
When you say invest heavily, what do you mean? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit. Like they just have a lot of coaches, or?
Well, I mean, it seems like they have a cohesive philosophy around their coaches, and then they flesh that out really well. So, C9 has Max and Vagar, and oh my God, I'm blanking right now. Can you bail me out, Max?
Yeah, so our other coaches are Revan. You might know him as Flannelista.
Who the fuck knows him as that?
Okay. Anyway, Revan. Over at Chicago, our academy coach Tails was working with us, and Zazel is also on our coaching staff.
That's right. 100T has Reaper and Myth. CLG went all out on all the different kinds of coaches that they have, whether it's positional or different things like that. EG seems to have a whole host of coaches that they have.
How much do you know about Golden Guardians coaching staff?
But I mean, I don't want to swing down, man.
No, I'm saying like they also invested heavily in coaching, and they didn't do as well. And then like you could argue that like TL, even though they were like one game away from making finals weekend, and maybe by your definition, it sounds like you don't feel like TL did invest heavily in coaching, right?
I think they have one of the best coaches in NA sitting in academy, but that's a different take for a different week.
Okay. Is he Australian?
I think Spawn's awesome, but
yeah.
Their main staff does have a fair amount of coaches too.
Maybe it's better to say what teams do you think do not have good, like a pretty big coaching staff setup.
I mean, I feel like some of the teams that don't have any forward-facing coaches are easier to talk about, I guess, but I don't know a lot about them, right? Like I don't know a whole lot about Dignitas's coaching staff or Immortal's coaching staff. I'll be honest, until I feel like there's been a lot of times where I didn't even know FlyQuest's coaching staff. They just doesn't feel like they're really out there. And
because I think the only thing that I'm concerned about is like I want to categorize like which teams did well and which teams didn't, because that seems like your take. Like, okay, bad, not invested in coaches, did not do well, did invest in coaches, did do well. And I'm kind of having a hard time locking in on like which teams. It seems like you think the majority of the league almost like invested into their coaches. You know what I mean?
No. I'm saying like I don't know what some of those teams are necessarily doing. I obviously there's going to be teams that do well regardless of coaching staff, I think. But I think the teams that did the best or exceeded all of our expectations were. I don't think it's a coincidence that those teams that did that are the same teams that have taken their time building out their coaching staff and having a fully fleshed out coaching staff in my mind.
Okay.
I'm not saying that bad teams don't have good coaching staffs. If I'm being honest, I don't know a whole lot about them because they don't seem to be out there. I'm saying I don't think it's a coincidence that the good teams really went all out on their coaching staff and built from there, it feels like.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, I can tell you right now which teams spent the most on coaches.
Oh, cool.
Based off of spring numbers.
Cool.
So,
Max is going to be able to negotiate with these numbers. Let's go.
So the teams,
Thank you, Travis.
the teams with the highest coach payroll, I'll say the top 5 teams. It goes 100T. Then next up is EG. Then below them, it looks like is. Well, this is based off of spring. Then below them is TSM, and right below them is Team Liquid, and right below them is Golden Guardians. So in terms of spend, that's kind of where your top 5 teams were.
Those spring numbers must be post LS release.
I don't know. I don't know how they structured this. This is just sort of like what's passed around between the league and the teams in terms of what everybody's payroll is. So
Max, is your you have renegotiations in the offseason?
Whoa. Is C9 just like, am I What you said the top 5? Fuck.
Where is
he's only gonna say
C9?
the top 5. You won't tell me.
If it's not top 5, just give C9's number. Then we don't need to
C9
shame
is in the
half
bottom
team.
5. If that seems there seems to be some confusion. I listed the top 5, so if C9's not in that, then they're in the bottom 5.
Right, but where in the bottom 5? Because Max might need to get the bag this offseason. He just won a championship, and he might be the ninth most paid.
Maybe 9th. Who knows?
Jack is gonna be mad about.
We didn't say Golden Guardians. I think we got to give C9 8th, right? No, wait, hold on.
Travis, just say C9's number or like their position. Only Cloud9. That's the only one I care about now.
They are.
C9.
They're in the bottom 5. I'm just gonna leave it there. I've already said too much. Okay.
Bro.
Anyway, but
It's
they're
okay.
not at
Thank
the
you,
bottom.
Travis.
They're not.
Thank you, Travis.
They're not at the bottom. Don't worry.
Thank you, Travis.
Yeah.
TL Academy, then C9.
Yes, and again, I believe this number includes like all like Academy and LCS. So it's all kind of merged together. It's my understanding of what this number is.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you, Travis. But
Yeah.
I think the caller is referencing an idea that he thinks organizations should have a different order of operations and team building. I think what you're trying to say is that you think teams should look for coaches to help build rosters instead of getting 5 players and then hiring a coach after the fact. Do you feel like that characterizes your idea?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, it's not like I have those monetary numbers. When I was saying invested, I honestly, I don't have the money.
Yeah.
numbers.
I'm not trying to
I mean, no one has that. Travis
mock
does.
you. It's I have it, but and so I know. But I get what you mean, right? Which is a lot of these teams tell pretty big stories about their coaching staff, or at least narratives get spun up around them, right? Like EG obviously spends a lot of time talking about the depth of their coaching roster and all that stuff. People know multiple coaches over there.
I know like their gamer doc, and some teams
Yeah.
I barely know their main analysts.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it is fair for you to say, hey, when I look at the successful teams, it feels like there's a lot of conversation about their coaching staff. So, okay. Max, you've been a coach for a bit now, and I know, and you've probably sort of observed coaching on other teams, and I think that this kind of ties into the narrative around, like, it's I don't want to spend too much into this because I'm sure we have a call about it, but like, we talk a lot about TL and their super team, and there's teams that have near the bottom that people have frequently overperformed, where it overperforms, and it feels like they're investing a lot in infrastructure, which I know gets memed on a lot as a term. So, what is your kind of general take on coaching in LCS right now, and the way that teams are building out coaching rosters?
Well, I think that observation is right, that we're looking for players first and then coaches afterward, and that it's not going from like the top down, I guess, in that sense, where you get the coach and the coach would like find the players. But I was trying to think about like, do I think that that's bad or that should be changed, or like you should find a coach who you really trust and then like give him control over the roster? I'm not sure, and I think it's different in every organization. This is pretty complicated. Can you bounce off me a little bit?
Yeah.
Forward.
I'll say this. I think it, like you're saying, it kind of depends on the situation, because I think there's times we've talked about this where like you have a team, and some players even said this weekend. I forget who said it on where, but like if you have I think it might have been Sven actually, about like if you have a team full of veterans, the coach that you need is not like the guy who's going to hold hands and like teach you how to play the game. Like you don't need that guy who's going to have like a super strong vision of what he wants every single person to be doing, because like your players probably already have that, and facilitating and like being able to set up systems and keep like the conversations that are going to happen naturally productive and whatnot. Like those are maybe the bigger ask. But if you're on like a younger team, maybe you do need that like heavy approach. And so in that sense, like knowing who your team is and then hiring a coach that can accommodate that might make more sense in the current league ecosystem, because we don't have like 20, 30-year coaches the way like traditional sports have you working your way up from like video analyst to head coach. I mean, like Max, your rise itself has been pretty quick. You've done a great job, clearly, given that you just won a championship. But like in traditional sports, that rise takes a lot longer, and like you're going to get more battle tested. So by the time that you do get incorporated as the head coach of a team, often it's like, yeah, we feel a lot more confident having you make way more decisions organizationally. Whereas in league, I don't know. I can see why there's GMs who want to build the roster and then find the coach. But then there are also some coaches who I think have proved their mettle and are like, give me control of the roster. I want to have pick of my players and whatnot.
I think we'll see in the future, because I think a lot of what you're saying is that coaching is underdeveloped, and we'll see more input and more influence from like the coaching role as it matures, and that the role itself probably isn't matured very much. And you also referenced that like, oh, I like started coaching last year as a positional coach, like mainly working with Fudge, and then within like a year, right now, like I right. It's not like decades like you're seeing in traditional sports. It's like year by year. It's very dynamic. It's moving all the time. So, yeah, I can definitely see how I'm very different from last year, and that I would need more years like this to get to a point where I could confidently say like, oh yeah, there should be a person above. There should be a person like in charge of looking for like players who are going to like work really well together, and like searching for all these very specific things, but we don't have the years, the experience, or like sometimes even the maturity to do this really well. So I would think that the coaching role needs more time to be able to do stuff like this well. And maybe right now it should be like you get players and then you find the coach who can fit the best at that time, in that moment.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I do hear often from coaches and or players that are frustrated with the other side of the equation. And, like over the course of this split, over this year, so many players have been saying stuff about Max Waldo's drafting, for instance. No, but as an aside, behind the scenes, yes, there are often times where players are frustrated with their coach and the coach are frustrated with the players, and it's just kind of like they're forced together. And so it's kind of interesting to me how this stuff works in traditional sports, where you do have a GM that's just sort of like, yep, I've brought this all together. Hopefully you guys all get along. I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of inexperienced GMs, right? Or owners that are building lineups and stuff that don't mesh well with coaches. So, yeah. Complicated topic, but Gengariffith, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to our next caller?
Yeah, shout out Alienware. I brought my laptop to Chicago, streamed Rings of Power after the games on Saturday. Shout out Greg Kim and Kelsey Moser for everything they've been doing for NA. Shout out the Academy and Amateur broadcast. I hope to see some of them on main next year. Shout out the C9 players for finding a way to overcome regardless of the outside noise. Shout out EG for starting a fight for the soul of NA, and I feel like they won that. Just look at what Teal is doing now. Shout
You
out
get one
Jackie
more
Felling.
shout out. That's
Okay.
it. Thank you so much for the call. We'll catch you. It's the Academy thing, or the Academy Awards thing, where we have to cut you off. Anyway, thank you so much for the call. We'll catch you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.
We need music to play people out now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you to, where are we? Sean Atonin for gifting a sub to Max Waldo. I'm sure he really appreciates that.
Yep, I'm all over that sub. Thank you, Travis.
The Fish Gaming for 4 months. Ash Lotte and Ari Waddle for 4 years. 4 years. Thank you all. Yeah, shout out King, exactly. Chat's got that going. Okay. Looks like Jojo is here. Unlikely to be EG Jojo, but Jojo, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Vancouver, Canada, and yeah, no, I'm not that Jojo.
Vancouver, Canada, but another Canadian Jojo. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask Max, how do you think Jensen not playing in spring affected both him as well as C9 as a whole? And then also I wanted to ask your opinion on whether or not spring split matters.
I didn't really notice that much that Jensen hadn't played. Like, it wasn't obvious that, like, oh, Jensen's underperforming in the first couple of weeks because he, like, hasn't played in spring. I didn't really notice. I think Jensen plays really well on stage. I think he, like, here's something funny that happened throughout the season. That I'm sure it's fine to talk about now. That, like, we don't win with LeBlanc and scrims. It's really funny. And then we go on stage and LeBlanc just wins every single game. It's so funny. And Jensen plays amazing on stage when he's given LeBlanc. But like that, it was happening all the time basically. So I don't really notice a big difference. I think Jensen was awesome to work with the whole summer split, and I think he played really well basically the whole time. So he could have been playing in spring, not playing in spring. I don't think it matters.
I mean, he was pretty much, wasn't he grinding Champions Queue pretty hard in spring, if I recall? I feel like he
Probably.
was doing a lot to try to keep himself relevant.
There's mixed reports of him living the high life in Vegas and grinding Champions Queue. So probably somewhere in the middle.
In the middle, yeah. He's going out.
A balance, right?
He grinds Champions Queue and then goes out and parties all day.
He loses 10,000 on black. He streams a little bit, earns it back, goes out again, something like that.
Yeah.
And the second part of your take,
Yes.
I'm trying to remember.
it was whether or not
spring
you
split
feel
matters.
like spring split matters with the current format.
No, I don't think so. Not really. You get some experience playing with international teams going to MSI. I think that would benefit EG that they've played against some of the teams, but I'm not even sure if they're playing the same teams, or like if they're overlapping anything, or if they like have any relevant information. I'm trying to think. Did it help us last year though against MSI?
I was about to say, I feel like your roster this year might predispose you to say no, given that literally Berserker and Blabber were the only two to like not buck around that much. Even then, you had a support change around Berserkers. I was like, your team might be biased to think that spring split doesn't matter.
Yeah. Definitely in our case, it didn't matter. I'm trying to think. Like last year, we kept the same roster from spring to summer. Do I think MSI helped us? Yeah, I think MSI helped us get better as a team because we got beat by a lot of really good teams. And we found some areas where we were a little bit weaker. And I think we came back to NA with a lot of like actual set plays that we could do that we saw international teams doing, where it was actively changing our decision making. What happened to us at MSI in summer split in 2021? So I think the best thing you can get out of spring is you go internationally and you play against some really good teams, and you carry those ideas with you going into summer. But other than that, I don't think like it changes too much outside of you get some good experience internationally, and that's only if you win. If you get like second or third, like in summer where you qualify for Worlds anyway, it's only if you get first that it impacts.
I did have.
So I was gonna say, I bet spring mattered to CLG. Funnily enough, I bet spring mattered for Team Liquid, but in a bad way, where they had to wait 6 months and then other teams caught up and passed them, where they didn't seem to improve very much. So I think it's gonna vary on a case by case basis for each team whether spring was good or bad, but I think it matters. I think it, and this is also only talking about it from the world's perspective, which is a horrible problem that I think as an ecosystem we have. I don't blame teams for thinking this way because worlds is kind of the ultimate prize. But like for players who won in spring, I think it mattered. I think it mattered to Inspired and JoJo and Vulcan to win another championship. You know, like I think that matters to them. So I think the context of how this conversation always comes about is from, did spring help me for worlds?
I mean, spring helped C9 build a good roster for summer because they weren't satisfied with their spring roster, right?
Right. Like you guys had to rebuild, but if you brought that roster just straight into summer, and that was like the thing, you know, like I think spring gets shortchanged in a lot of people's minds. Did it help grow some players' brands? Yes. Spring always has higher viewership than summer. So like performing well in spring, you could argue sometimes matters a lot too. I mean, obviously making worlds will get you the most viewership bump, but there's like a lot of reasons that spring matters. And I feel like I am somewhat overprotective of this narrative because I have been sick of it ever since it first left Doublelift's lips and has been perpetuated since then. And I don't think there's very much truth to it beyond a player who was slumping coping, to be quite honest.
I like this idea that let's say it as a split that doesn't have consequences for worlds still really matters because it gives you time to sort out the situation. So even in the context of worlds, it does still matter because you get this whole like set of 3 or 4 months to like angle yourself as best as possible to qualify for worlds and to do well at
But
worlds.
it didn't matter for Jensen. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah, guess it doesn't.
I guess it
Wait.
did, because otherwise he'd be teamless the whole year if Spring Split didn't exist, right? You just go teamless into summer, or like I don't know how do you change time? I don't like what would
It's
happen
just
to
like
these
the
3
two
months?
splits thing. It's just like if there's two splits, they do matter. Even if one of them doesn't affect like qualifying for Worlds in the second one, the fact that there's two and they're separate, it matters.
Yeah.
I guess it's
think
just he
that's
was
kinda
able to
like it.
take the whole split off and still lift a trophy on a brand new team. To me, I could see him saying, "Spring split didn't matter to me." You know what I mean? Like I was able to go chill and do whatever. Like, what do you think about it? Like it might have mattered to C9, but it didn't really matter to Jensen,
Yeah.
right?
It mattered to C9, and that gave Jensen the opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think there is value. For some people to say Spring Split doesn't matter to me, because for the example of Double Lift, also to be fair to him, he's someone who has gone to Worlds time after time after time, and what he cared about was a good performance at Worlds. And in that sense, Spring was like the holding pattern he had to suffer through to get to the part of the year that he was excited about. And for a player like Double Lift, yeah, I actually do understand where he's kind of coming from, but I don't think that's a universally true sentiment, or it shouldn't be a universally true sentiment.
Like I wonder how much of these long-standing vets would happily just skip spring if they could. You know, like there's in traditional sports, obviously, there's a lot of teams that will just not always run. They'll give like their vets a lot of time off or something at certain points in the year or after they've secured something or whatever. And like, I don't think this would happen, but you could see a world where more players do what Peter and Jensen did and just be like, okay, I'll see you in summer or something. I don't know. Anyway,
I actually did have something to add to that. I sort of got the inspiration from this take from JLXP, and he was talking about specifically from the Jensen angle about what you were saying, how for veterans it might, not that it would ever probably really be acceptable from like an ecosystem perspective, but for veterans to just kind of take the
That's what I
first
just said.
half year off and then come back.
Jat is back in time, ripping off literally what I just said is what I'm hearing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Thank you, Jojo. Anything that you want to say? Any shout outs before we go on to our next caller?
I wanted to shout out Cloud9. Always congratulations on winning the split. Also wanted to shout out you guys. I love what you do. Your sponsors, Alienware, Grubhub. And then just shout out to my amazing girlfriend, who is currently at work, but she'll watch the VOD later. Or tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks, Jojo. Thanks for
Thank
calling
you.
in, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
See ya. All right. Mark is off to grab the next caller. We got Low Budget LCS, who rated us with 32 viewers. Thank you. Numi gifted a sub to Dunk Squad, and Skylar Perry gifted a sub to Mia Khalifa, who I know is a huge fan of Hotline League, and will definitely use that sub to watch the VODs. So thank you for gifting that sub. Max, are you guys are you going to boot camp in Mexico City?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't.
I heard that some NA teams were thinking about maybe boot camping in Mexico City, and I thought that would be very smart and cool to go do that, because theoretically it's very low lift and you can scrim all the teams that get there early. But
But can we scrim them anyway?
I don't know. What's
They're
the
like-
ping between LA and Mexico City?
I don't know if it's that bad. Maybe they won't do it. But I think we are gonna scrim some playing teams. So I maybe we'll be playing on like 40 to 80 ping. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think we're boot camping in Mexico City, and I think we'll still scrim playing teams.
Folks in the chat, including Peter Dunn, are saying it's 50-ish. So
50.
Vigar V2 in chat saying ping doesn't matter. Stop coping.
Yeah, it's only draft and builds that matter. So as long as we draft well, it shouldn't make a difference if there's
Gotcha.
lag. Everyone has the lag, but you
Yeah.
have the difference in drafts. So.
that's weird, because for years and years and years, so many NA players were saying the opposite every year after Worlds.
Well, the ping can matter when you're trying to like change your draft pick in the last second. You know,
That's true.
the
Yeah.
client might bug out, and then the ping. And then
Parnell
we're in
is here. Parnell, where are you from?
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Gotcha, Indiana. What do you want to talk about on the show?
My take is that. Wait 1 second. Where is it?
Did we lose it? Mark, do you remember his
Yeah,
take?
no, I got it.
trouble. You should have it.
TL Team Liquid is one of many examples that raw talent doesn't make a good team, and that synergy and cohesion is most important and is not taken seriously enough by teams nearly enough.
Agreed. This is great. Do you want to expand on this anymore? Or do you want us to just go with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's I think the approach that teams should probably take is, I mean, there's a couple different like ways you could probably go about it, but I think what I'm thinking is like maybe start off with a star player or two when roster building, and then try to build around their strengths and fill in the blanks. I mean, like think of like Damwon, you know, they had like Ghost as ADC when they won Worlds, and he's not like a great ADC like by LCK standards, but he fills the role, and he's a really strong like weak side player, and just helps the team, you know, in general. I mean, Niski also for like Mad Lions, has a very distinct play style of playing through mid jungle, and he's not like going to like demand a ton of resources, but he's going to like there's just a play style that just gets defined, you know, with when Niski's on the team. And I think that's more teams should really look to just kind of play around the play style of their most dominant players, I guess.
You know what I was thinking earlier today, Mark, about this? Do you remember it was like 3 years ago? I feel like it was only 3 years ago when NA fans were so pissed that we kept reusing talent. Like this was like a big, and I've completely forgotten about it because then what we did was we just rapidly started churning talent. But there was oh yeah, like all these team owners keep reusing the same talent. They're not going out and finding new people, blah, 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 blah. And now it's very interesting because I feel like, and people were like, get these guys out of the roster. Now it feels like there's more of a call for roster consistency and for us to, again, reuse that talent, you know?
Well, Parnell, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also just saying like, find the person that slots into that position. Don't just slam another superstar in there because they're a big name, right? More so than if it's a new or old name.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think a really good example of this split was actually CLG, because and they don't really have like a star player to really build around, I guess, but they were a team that was supposed to be bad, but they just synergized really well together. They played aggressively together. And they just had like, I don't know, they just had really good synergy, and it was very apparent in fights with how they played, even if they weren't the best individual players.
Okay. So,
Mr. Waldo.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
How do you make sure that a team of players gel well together? Because what we heard at the beginning of the year from Bjergsen was that the one player he wanted to play with more than anyone was Core. And now these rumors are popping up that like they actually didn't see the game the same way and all that stuff. So how when you're building a roster or you are running a team, do you ensure that like, oh, these teams get along or these players get along and they work well together?
But that one sounds hard because if Bjergsen's saying like, oh, I really want to play with Core JJ, like I'll do whatever to play with them, like get me on that team, then it's not exactly the same as the take of like, oh, this team is just buying the highest market player, the highest dollar. It's a little different because this person is saying like, oh, I will have synergy with this person. I like how this person thinks and plays the game. And then they're just finding out later that might not be true. And I don't even know if that's true. I don't know if they dislike each other or whatever. But that problem sounds complicated.
They dislike each other.
Okay. That problem sounds complicated, that it's like, oh, they thought that it was going to work. Like, Bjergsen thought it was going to work. I imagine Core J thought it was going to work. They were like, oh, yeah, we want to play together. And then it turned out that it wasn't totally like that.
Yeah, that's the problem, though, Max. You have to prove it. Anyone can say it.
You would have to have... Imagine, like, you build exactly what you want in a team. And like you lay out some like conditions like this. Even this, I think, would be insufficient. It's very hard to make things work for a whole year, or like more than that. It's like more than anything. Oh! I was gonna keep going with the.
No. You're killing it. You're on a roll. I don't want to get into. Yeah. You keep going.
It's about like maintaining relationships and making sure that like that problems aren't allowed in like a team environment to like to stick around for a long time, to like to be developed, or to like I guess like fester within a team. So I guess I would put responsibility on like staff and managers. I think like for example Cloud9 does a really good job of this, that managers and coaches and staff all do a really good job of identifying potential problems and then just making plans to work it out. And most of it is just about like maintaining good relationships with each other so that things don't break down. At the end of the day, we gotta all like each other or it's not gonna work out. So like when you're saying before, like suggesting that like Core might not like Bjergsen, but they thought they did at the beginning of the year, it's like, oh shit, like I don't know what happened.
I didn't say they don't like each other.
I'm sorry, Travis.
This is why it's tough to talk about this stuff, because everything gets misquoted. Arsh already misquoted it on Twitter, and then people, I'm sure, will go with what he said. Yeah.
Travis is just starting up feuds in the LCS. Next year, I'm going to run with the narrative. Whenever
the problem is it just
different teams, I'm going to build up like a clash of ideologies.
No, it's very
versus Core.
It's very exhausting sometimes to try to want to talk about this stuff, because people will just completely misquote it, and then it becomes like 5 years later, I'll be on Reddit and I'll still see people being like, well, remember that these players actually just didn't like each other. Maybe that's why they have beef, and like, ugh, it's just like, ugh.
Of course.
What I was going to say is, like, in some sense, this is an unanswerable question. It's why GMs get paid buttloads of money if they think you're good at it. You know, like building rosters is hard. Figuring out how players sit together and should play together, and if they're going to work out, is hard. You can do the things that you think will make you good. You do your interviews, maybe you get some scrims in, you know, see how they're playing together. Maybe you do some stats if you're moneyballing, you know, like people have their methods, but there's no guarantee at the end of the day. And like, you know, Gen G is a super team straight up. They're the best team potentially in the world right now. It's 5 guys who are all really good, have been the best in their position at points in their career, slammed together, and they're killing it right now. You know, like, why did that one work and Team Liquid didn't? Without being there and inside for both for a whole year, I couldn't tell you. You know,
somehow they've all put their differences aside and played great League of Legends for months running, right? And that doesn't always happen. So
yeah. I will say I am very much on the train though that if you can find a good prospect to be the 4th and 5th person on your roster, they are seemingly many times not worse than another superstar. This is something I pushed a fair amount of times. I don't know how you feel about it, but like people have slotted into super teams and done pretty good. Like Cowrie came in, did pretty good this weekend. Would he be able to do it long term? I don't know. That's a bigger question. But like
tactical with TL,
contracts, Blabber, Licorice for a lot of the guys that came up on C9, they kind of came in and did well pretty quickly. EG is a super team at this point. I mean, you have a fucking MVP. You have Vulcan, who's won a ton of titles. Impact's won a ton of titles. JoJo's young, yes, but like, I mean, there's a lot of like strength there, and they are, even in some sense, you could argue a proof for this. Another proof for this is that like they went on JoJo and bet on him instead. You know, like I don't know how you feel. Would you, as a coach, Max, would you rather get 5 superstars or 3 superstars and like 2 good prospects?
Hell no on 5. It's got to be, if the 2 options are 5 or 3. I would say 3. You can have a totally, if it's really 3 and we can have a totally functional working conversation, I would want to like 2 people who are new, who have little to no experience coming in, listening to the same sort of stable conversations that would be there if there were 5. I mean, so the thing is, I would rather have instead of there's so much in here to explain. I don't know if I can do it in like a minute long. Like,
well, then do it in 4, 5.
Thinking of a couple different things here.
Hey, let me ask you this, Mark. While Max adds this to his Pokemon quiz of things to work on. Mark, Are we in agreement that swapping Jensen for Bjerg was a bad strategy?
In somewhat, yes. In the sense that,
And that's not to say Jensen's better, but it's like this. It kind of relates to the questions, and it didn't seem like Team Liquid players had a hard time playing with Jensen. He seemed to be able to play well with them, enough to get them to Worlds and stuff, right? So
yeah, well, so like what I'd say is there's no guarantee that you put Jensen in and suddenly the problems that Team Liquid had are solved. So in that sense, it's like kind of hindsight to be like, well, Jensen made Worlds and TL didn't, so therefore Jensen plus TL equals Worlds. Like it's not quite like a straight computation like that, but I do think that it's fair to say that Jensen's really fucking good, has never missed Worlds. Was that move necessary? Was it a side grade? You know, like I think those are fair questions to ask.
yeah, I mean, I just mean in relation to this topic, right? Which is, you know, Jensen is good. You also know Jensen works well with your team. Bring Bjergen, who like maybe you think is a little bit better. I don't think anybody's like, oh, Bjergen's like twice as good as Jensen or anything like that. You're now fucking up with your established like synergy, right? And the trust that the players had in him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, assuming that Core and Santorin didn't hate him as the two people that you were keeping over, because they still did bring in Hans and Blippo, so there was still some uncertainty on how he'd work with them. But like, if the other two were chill with him, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready to go, guys.
Okay.
Can I throw in like one quick point?
No, we're gonna let Max go because he's got this going.
Never mind.
Max, you've prepped it.
The thread.
Go.
So the thing that I'm working with is what exactly do we mean by superstar? Because I think what's actually important is like temperament and personality and like how people interact with in conversation, and you need different roles in different conversations. So when we say superstar, what exactly are we referring to? Just like experience in like championships and stuff?
Yes, a player who's proven
Top
that they
player.
can win. Yeah, they've won a couple championships. Probably they're probably on some all pros. People look at them and think that's a great player. You know.
Okay, if it's just that the player's good, then I wouldn't consider it like a super huge factor. And there's like good player. Maybe in that case I would be fine with 5 superstars, but I wouldn't be looking at it like, oh, this like I'm getting this player because he's like shown he can win specifically. It would just be that when we're having a conversation in a group, everybody can't always talk at once. We can't go with everybody's idea at the same time. We have to be able to agree on something, and it has to be like 1 or 2 things, and then we all have to do it. So it's less about like this player's like the best player, or this player's like won for 10 years in a row. But we can't have a functional conversation if there's 5 people in the room and everybody thinks that their idea is like the only usable idea. So I would think it more has to do with like someone's like personality and how they interact in conversation.
No, well said. Okay, Parnell, we're going a little long with this call, but you said you wanted to squeeze something in?
Yeah. I mean, just Mark kind of mentioned it, but I think it does kind of tie in. I think there's a reason why a lot of these teams that have like filled, like these really good teams that filled in like 1 or 2 rookies, e.g. with like Danny, like G2 with like their bot lane, for example. I think the reason why they tend to have a lot of good success is because they have a couple really good players with strong opinions about how to play the game, and they're probably not going to change those views, at least that dramatically. And then they have these new players coming in willing to learn, and they're going to be more willing to be more role players and kind of conform to the play style of the team. So there's more balance there, I feel. Cool.
I think that sounds better. And I think it's more referring to like roles. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With discussion too, like you said.
Thank you, Parnell, for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we take a quick break?
Yeah, so I just want to quickly shout out my alternative take, which was instead of double elimination, triple elimination. March Madness style, have 2 series going on at once for Worlds, 2 different streams. Viewership will skyrocket.
Yeah, because whenever I've seen League of Legends competitive play across multiple streams, viewership always skyrockets. Thank you, Parnell.
If you do it right.
Thank you.
You
It's
never
always the copium
if
for
if
anybody.
you do it right, suddenly there'll be 2 times more people who exist on Earth to watch League of Legends.
If you do it right, is
Worlds
always
is different, though.
the
Worlds is
perfect
different,
copium answer, because like if somebody takes your idea and then they implement it and it doesn't work, you just say, well, if you've done it right, which I feel like is always the way that this works whenever people talk about best of threes and stuff like that with the LCS. It's like, oh yeah, it's just you did it and it actually didn't yield any results, but it's because you didn't do it right. So Parnell, thank you. We'll catch you next time. I'm only I feel no bitterness towards or no guilt in mocking you here because you used your shout out to put out a take, and that's just rude. No, I'm just kidding. All right, talk to you later, Parnell.
But before the read, Travis, while you kick him, mouse story.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Okay,
Max,
You guys not know the mouse
no,
story?
no. Okay, so here's the thing, Max. I don't know. So it seems like nobody knows what the story is, from what I can tell.
They all know.
They
I-
all know.
I think this is not true. I'm pretty sure everyone knows.
Can
Viper
I get
V2
context on why
definitely
everyone
knows.
spams this? Like, what? I assume this is an LS thing. So, like, can
It
you
was
provide
during
at
a
least
co-stream.
context on why people spam this?
During a co-stream, I think people thought I just told the story in like a funny way, and then
Okay.
someone and it was also like drawn out, where I was telling the story for like 15 minutes to like fill gap in a break, and
Okay.
then like they were telling me like say it again, do it, say the whole thing over again. So now it's a running joke that
Okay.
just tell the mouse story.
Is there a
I don't
15-second version of it?
I'm
is it
I'm
brand safe?
irresponsible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm not sure. How like brand say a mouse with a name gets caught in a trap.
Oh, it's like gruesome.
No,
Oh. Okay.
Message
Well,
just lays out a
just
mouse
give
trap
give
and
the
kick my dog.
15-second version.
the 15-second version is that me irresponsibly leaves the door open sometimes when I was living with my sister. So sometimes I left like the back door open, and she's like, "Oh, don't do that. You're gonna let a mouse in." And I did enough times where a mouse actually got in, and then she started naming the mice as she was hearing them in our house. And then whenever she caught a mouse in a mouse trap, she would announce it to me, and she would name them in order of Algernon, and then Balgernon, and Calgernon, and
Gotcha.
Dalgernon. Yeah, and there were several because I let a lot of mice in. Whoops.
That was the story
the
that
whole thing.
everyone
That's
like
the whole
fucking
thing.
spammed.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell it in a much more dramatic way.
No,
with a
no.
lot
I
more,
think
with a lot more
that's.
build up. Yeah.
I think that's.
Yep.
No, I think it's actually best if we use the next 30 minutes of the show on the mouse story.
All right, we're going to talk about our sponsor, Grubhub. Shout out to Grubhub this past weekend. Wait, how much money did it get up to, Mark? The
640.
640, yeah. So this past weekend, we did live Hotline League, and please go watch the VOD of it, because everybody watches it live, and then they don't watch the VOD, and then that makes me sad, because I want people who didn't watch it live to make sure that they see how actually awesome it was for us having like that huge stage and how cool it was. And we had some really great, like, quote-unquote callers, but one of the fun things that we did was we did the like double or money thing that I've done in the past with Grubhub gift cards with the callers. And so many of you guys that showed up, everybody just said keep going, to the point where it went up to $640, and our Grubhub had to come out and say, please, it's now going to end at $640. But it was very, very funny and very cool to see all of you guys show up. Thank you if you did show up. Thank you to Grubhub for making the whole thing happen. It's been really cool having their support and being able to come out to events, live events, and do and do live versions of the show. We'd love to do more of that. So if you guys like having us be able to do live versions of Hotline League where we're able to really show up in a place, please continue to support their support of us by using their codes or signing up for Grubhub with the link if you haven't ever tried it before, or just tweeting Grubhub and saying thank you for sponsoring Travis. All that stuff really goes a long way. But it's really cool that they were able to allow us to do that this past weekend, and I really appreciate it. So Mark Zimmerman currently taking a call during the middle of our live show, so I should probably keep talking about Grubhub. Actually, I'll just read out some subs. Thank you to Grubhub, by the way. There's a link in the description if you want to check them out. Let's see some subs. We got Clock Cruncher.
Travis, are you okay? You saw my tweet from yesterday. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, we'll talk about it later.
Because this call that I just got is directly related to that story.
Oh, really? Yeah. Mark, here's what I'll say. I'm going to say this in a way because I'm not sure if you
our sponsor look good.
You did not handle it, I think, the way that I would have suggested you handle it publicly. But I will say, the Mark story is he made the terrible mistake of trying another delivery service, which, shame on him. But he's now still dealing with the ramifications of food that never got delivered. So shout out to Grubhub because that's who he should have used.
Yeah. Shout out to Grubhub. I wouldn't have had this problem. You know what I did is I actually ordered Grubhub right after. I was like, fuck this. I just ordered from a different place and got Grubhub. And it worked out just fine. I didn't have any problems.
Yeah. Thank you to Grubhub for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Pride Influence for 1 year and Sherman for 37 months. All right. We're ready for the next.
What's on your list of takes that we haven't hit yet other than the Pokemon cards?
My take was just that 100 Thieves can't get out of groups because they're drafted.
We have don't worry. Next caller is exactly up your alley then.
All right.
Okay, off
Sounds
he goes.
Good. Also, I have my Pokemon list ready. Like it's all narrowed down to one.
We'll do it at the end of the show. Okay. Looks like our next caller is here, and it is Arsh, the man who keeps misquoting me. Arsh, where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello?
Am I connected?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from?
All right. Santa Monica, California.
Santa Monica, California. Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I am here with the take that 100 Thieves is our worst Worlds representative. Because I just want the 100 Thieves fan base to hate me more.
Gotcha.
So basically, EG was the better team despite losing on Saturday.
All right. Why? Because they just played a best of 5 and they lost.
Right. So this is kind of trajectory based. I'm sorry, am I cutting out?
No.
Nope.
You're good.
Ignore Twitch chat. They're not real.
Basically, I think this is a lot of trajectory based. Mark said to make it less about Worlds, but I think that like having a sub which you played 10 scrims with, 2 days of scrims, and then taking going to 5 games against 100 Thieves is really impressive. All split, I've openly said that I've not been super impressed with 100 Thieves. Like the level of play from FBI and Huhi, I think has been pretty low compared to Berserker. But I mean, also Berserker and Danny were like pretty high above everyone else. And I also think that Sunday's champ has been a problem despite locking Fiora 3 times this weekend. I don't think any of the games are particularly impressive. He smashed Impact on the Aatrox matchup, but to my eye, it looked like Impact didn't know the matchup, and Someday at several points didn't punish it correctly. And just generally, I think that they have an over-reliance on closer, because of course they do. Closer as their star player. But I really think that like every other part of this team has some really glaring weaknesses. Abadage got smashed in lane by Jojo and Jensen this weekend. I really don't think that this team's going to do well at Worlds, which is kind of sad because I do like 100 Thieves as an org. And I like Ina. That's pretty much it, though.
Okay. Max, you said that this sounds a little similar to what you wanted to talk about. So what do you think of this take?
I wasn't going to reference any like levels of play, even though I do agree that I think out of the 3 mid laners that went into championship weekend, Abadage was the weakest out of Jojo, Jensen, and Abadage. I was going to say that it looked very hard from their perspective to draft, and I don't know how they're going to figure it out in a couple of weeks. I think Sven said this in our press conference that we knew all 9 of their bans, all 3 games in the right order too. That it's very difficult for them to draft because they have a lot of things that they must do. They're banning Sejuani on both sides, for example. I hope something like that they can figure out. But I mean, there's more problems in their draft that they haven't figured it out in a couple of weeks already. So them just being given like 2-3 weeks to figure it out, I doubt they're going to perform really well on top of gameplay stuff that they're struggling with, like Gafford's laning phase or some days champion pool, or like closer needing to be on like a playmaker, things like this. yeah, I think they will struggle.
Kaladin Stormbless in the chat says, Max Waldo, wasn't 100 Thieves Game 1 draft pretty good?
Their draft?
I think
Against EG or against C9?
Against C9, I believe is what it is.
I think it was pretty rough against C9 because they don't have anybody to mark any of the flankers. So like it's good if you look at it on paper, like you're just standing and everybody's in vision. The problem is that like when Kennen and Nocturne go out of vision, it's really hard to protect Soraka or Zir or really anyone. LeBlanc out of vision too. It's so difficult for them to fight objectives.
Sorry, finish. No. You finish first.
You can look at it in a very like, if you look at it in a surface level way, the champions just see each other and then like, oh, this like outranges or something. But the moment like vision gets added into the equation, like you can't see certain champions, what you can and can't do changes so heavily, and you can't control that vision because nobody's able to fight Kennen or LeBlanc 1v1 like really easily. So it's really hard for them to mark any of the flankers. Like what happened in that team fight at Dragon, I think will happen at every team fight at that Dragon, where Kennen walks around and then flashes on them. It's really hard to avoid that. The only other way I think that could be like communicated clearly was if like you guys were playing in that spot, or just imagine as hard as you can that like you are these champions and try to figure out like what you would do in place of them to stop this from happening to you, or how you would play these spots differently, because it's really hard to prevent these engages from going off cleanly. Mark.
I was gonna say, what do you think about the Malphite into double AP solo lanes? Because like when I saw that, I was like, oh, that looks a little sketch to me, especially since you have AD jungler, so it's not like you can easily just stack MR, and then usually like in my head you want AD stack for Malphite. So I thought it was weird, but then Whippo was in the like green room with us watching the game, and he was saying like it's actually not that bad. He kind of doesn't mind Malphite into Kennen, and so like I didn't know what you thought when you saw it.
It used to be a lot better, but it's not super good right now because of the durability nerfs. Malphite's not getting a free laning phase against Kennen, and he doesn't have the damage, also because of the durability nerfs to one-shot Kennen. So the laning interactions just got a lot worse for Malphite, and I don't think it was a very good Malphite game because our carries were Zeri and LeBlanc. You don't have the best like carry targets for Malphite, and your laning phase is going to be worse. I think if you played, let's say that Sunday is now the Kennen and Fudge is now the Malphite. I think Fudge will go down a little bit of CS. Like this is projected, right? He'll go down CS. He'll get pushed in. I don't think the laning phase should be horrible. Maybe Fudge played really well in this game, and Sunday like underperformed in this game. But I don't think the matchup is so bad. It's just you don't have the same kill threat, and I don't think you have very good carries to ult as Malphite this game.
I saw a couple people suggesting that like the Malphite was there so to deal with the Zeri, to like Q her when she's building up movement speed, and like to make her P shooter damage more P shooter. But I don't know what do you think about that? It looked interesting to me, at least. I've never seen that.
If Malphite gets to Q Zeri, something's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Bro, you just flash Q her. Why is it so hard?
And then you have the speed hack.
It's a targeted ability. How are you gonna fucking miss it, bro?
No, Mark, you Q her and then flash away.
And then you have your speed hack, bro.
Yeah, and then you have your move speed
walls.
See, like, this is why I'm gold, Mark. Like, this is why I know that I'm gold. That's the highest rank. Also, I was gonna say, like, I do agree with you on like the drafting thing. I think I dislike 100 Thieves right now because I value flexibility a lot. So when I do power rankings, I always put like C9 players at the top because it looks like they're just the most flexible, plus jojo pion. So yeah, I think that like that flexibility has always been a strength of yours specifically, and C9's in general, and which is why the regular season looked so weak. But I think that kicking in just means that internationally, I don't see how 100 Thieves will do anything.
Max, you're now coaching 100 Thieves. What do you do? Because listen, we're all about NA strength together. The rising tide raises all ships.
I mean, it is kind of true. Other regions supposedly work together more than NA does, or at least I think there's been a long conversation that maybe LPL and LCK do. So now you can give good advice because you probably won't face off against them at Worlds.
Yeah, statistically, what's the chance that you play 100 Thieves at Worlds? It's zero. So
yeah,
help them out. What would you do?
Okay. Well, Oh, okay. Well, I don't think I know what the problem is. Because there's problems under problems. I only
Yep.
see the outcome of the problems. The outcome of the problems is that they're not able to draft very well. But why that's happening, like, I don't have an answer to the question, why can't they play Sejuani on either side? I don't have the answer to that. I imagine the answer is something like Someday and Closer both play it, and they both don't want to play it. But then when Impact and Inspired play it, or when Fudge and Blabber play it, we can play it to success. So their solution was to ban it on both sides. I think that's bad. So the solution isn't necessarily just to play Sejuani, because that's probably not going to fix it, because they probably tried that. The problem probably goes a little bit deeper than that, and it might not even have to do with Someday or Closer. Very hard to say if you aren't in the team what you should do to fix the problem. But I know the things that would have to get fixed. That's the things that we can identify. What things would have to get fixed? Someday has to be able to play more matchups. Aatrox can't be his go-to champion. Aatrox and Renekton can't be like the picks that you must like blind pick, because we get to
And Fiora.
in
blind
4-5
Fiora.
we get to push him to these champion picks. And after game 1, we're talking about, well, we have these options to play the same matchups. We can ban Fiora to put him in this position where he blind picks like Gwen, and we play Jax, or he blind picks Ornn, and we pick Gwen, where he gets put in these fork positions. It's really hard. He just needs like more chance that he can blind pick comfortably, because I think Fiora was a good blind pick, but you need more. Otherwise, it can be targeted and then picked around, and then you're just pushed onto the same picks as before. We banned Renekton in first phase in game 1, so that our 4-5 bans could push him closer to playing Aatrox. And then, Fiora. And if we were totally aware of this, we can plan around this too. So like the problems stack up. We need more picks in top lane. I think this is my speculation is that, oh, what's that? My speculation is that Closer can probably play the meta champions, but he's playing just specific ones to play a role player for his team. Like he feels like he might have to be on Engage, for example. Again, I'm like shooting in the dark a few times because I'm not there with them. Their bot lane plays lane phase very aggressively, and sometimes it doesn't work out for them. Again, don't know why, but something that would have to probably get better is their bot lane's performance, their bot lane's laney phase. Mid lane's laney phase. Abadage lost a lot of Azir lanes that he probably shouldn't have lost. Specifically like a game 1 against LeBlanc. Probably this laning phase. We should have been able to get around this in some way. I think when they played against us in semis too, there was LeBlanc Ari laning phase that probably shouldn't have been lost that bad. Again, like maybe he needs 1v1s with Vigarvi too. Maybe he needs to sub to his Patreon account. I'm not sure exactly. Like,
Is there an Azir guide in there?
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly of all the solutions here. I just know like that these are things that would have to be fixed somehow. Could go
People
on.
also had a strong opinions on the Azir game 1 lane phase. Actually, that was one of the other things we're talking a lot about. Cool. So now 100 Thieves is ready to get out of that group over Genji and RNG. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, Genji and RNG, when was the last time they won Worlds? You know?
Couldn't
That's a
tell
good
you.
point. Yeah, think about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, really quickly, Arsh, before you go, and I give you your shout out, because I see you freaking out on Twitter. Whenever I was commenting on the misquote thing, it was because I saw that you tagged me and said that I had confirmed that Bjerg and Core JJ disagree heavily about the game. I would just request that in the future you say that like has heard rumors that this is the case, because I can't really confirm something unless somebody like officially says it to me publicly, I guess is the best way to put it. And so it's like, again, this is where I get nervous about things getting like repeated or whatever, you know, like this is I want to be open with the people that watch my content and say like, oh, this is a rumor going around behind the scenes. But whenever it gets written as confirmed, normally I would not worry about your Twitter account, but I think you ended up on the Team Liquid subreddit as like a highly upvoted thread that I can't find now for your like roster rumor stuff that you posted yesterday.
I was literally like, people have suddenly jumped to the conclusion that because I have like 500 followers, I must like know rumors. It's like, dude, I'm looking at GCD and like making conclusions. Like that's all
Well,
that's
you did say
happening. I'm
some of
looking
these
at
are
the
based
case.
on rumors I've heard, and then
A couple
I think
of
the
them, no,
thread
a couple of
title
them are
was
based
like
on rumors, but those rumors
Dignitas
are
intern based off of things that he's heard. Like I think it just leds people to like people are so voracious for roster rumors behind the scenes that like you putting this out and it's very spicy. And
I just wanted to look smart in 6 months when like half of this comes true. Like a couple of them are based on rumors, yes, but like they're also rumors that like pretty much everyone has heard. You know what I mean?
yeah, I
And
think
like I'm pretty confident in.
I'm not going to shame you for this because I think everybody should be able to choose for themselves. I think one thing that's kind of bummer for me is when you have teams that haven't even played a single game at Worlds yet, and people are starting to talk about them not being on the team next year. Which like every person who wants to cover off season should do whatever they want, but it's something I've mostly tried to avoid because it just feels so shitty. Like
Yeah,
I'd heard like.
fair. I think I probably just shouldn't have put rumors in there because people latched onto that, and it's really more analysis and like
You
GCD and,
should
like,
do
off-season prediction.
whatever you want. It's more just like
Yeah.
it's something I've been thinking about because I have heard a couple rumors about like Worlds teams, and so and I'm just like I'm actually kind of sad that Worlds teams rumors are already coming out because it just feels as
Because
I
it
said,
means
it
that the
feels
teams
bad.
are already making those considerations behind the scenes.
Well, and I sometimes wonder if like the player has heard about it, and like if the player doesn't know, and this stuff starts getting out before they're about to
yeah,
play,
I mean,
like
if I've heard about it, the players probably heard about it. To be honest,
who knows? Who knows? Anyway, it's just always an interesting situation. But yeah, no shame on you. It's just I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, I mean, I got in trouble with a few people for like other things today, so I'm just in a paranoid mood.
Oh yeah. No, you're not in trouble with me. Anyway, thank you so much.
Cool.
Do you want to shout anything out?
I have a couple things. So first, check out the NA Men podcast on Spotify. We had our first episode. It's very cool. If you're an LCS fan, LCS enjoyer, it's very casual for that kind of thing. Second thing is a good thing in community. My friend Elaine, number one Jojo can stand on Twitter, is doing a like thing for Danny. So it's like it's on her Twitter. You can just check it out, and it's like a send Danny messages, and his sister is like helping with it. So some of those messages are going to get to him under that hashtag. So you can, if you are interested in sending a message to Danny because he is having a tough time right now, and that'd be a nice thing to do, you can send that message through there.
What is the name of this podcast again?
NA Men, like NA Men, the
Like
like
men
name
from
it.
North
Whatever.
America. No, like men from North America.
yeah,
that's
like
what it
NA
sounds like
Men.
you're saying.
The problem is I'm the only man, so it's inaccurate. It's misleading for sure.
Okay.
But
I
NA
will
Men.
listen. I will commit to listening to the first 15 minutes of it.
Thank
maybe
you.
more.
We have a rioter that confirmed that he listened to it, so
Nice.
that's pretty
No,
cool.
I like this stuff. I really like community created content, and most of the esports teams have decided that they're not going to create any content. So I'm happy for the community to pitch in. Thank you so much, Arsh, for calling in. Since you are a dig intern, I just want to say, on the topic of Dignitas.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what? I'll
just
wait.
so we're
I'll
clear,
wait later. I'll wait.
before
I
you
won't
say
do
this,
it while
I
you're
am
here.
nowhere near the LCS team.
I will talk
work
to
on the
you later.
website.
I won't say it here. I'll catch you later.
Okay.
Bye. Okay. We've
So
got
weird.
one more caller to go.
What's weird?
Man,
What?
I don't know.
next?
Like chat noticed it too. That it just kind of sounded like me, and then his podcast was NA Men, and my count on League in 2020 was NA American.
Yeah,
just
and then the
so,
fact that
like,
he had the
weird,
same
like,
take that you wanted to talk about, you fucking ventriloquist.
It's just a little weird. I'm not sure.
I want to talk about 100 Thieves. Next caller. I want to talk about 100 Thieves. Same voice, no camera. Pre-recorded messages or something. You knew what we were going to say in response. I don't know how you did it.
Just a little strange, but
I'm
I don't know. A
glad
lot of
we
prep
can
goes
all
into
agree.
these shows, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
It's a little sketchy. All right, Mark is off. Okay, so after this call, Max, you're gonna give your Pokemon breakdown, right?
Hell yeah.
After the last caller, this is what we've been saving. This is what we should do in the future, Travis, is we ask such an ingenious question at the start that people just need to hear the answer, but then we don't give it to them.
I would love it if we started asking ingenious questions at the start, Mark. So that is a good idea that hopefully we'll be able to do in future episodes.
Well, as the one who has to deal with Discord, you have all the time in the world when you're chatting at the beginning to think of one engaging question.
Fair enough. Mess, is it messe? Messe? Colin?
You've done this. It's like Jesse, but messy. That's how
Messy. Okay. I
It's
just, you know,
MSA.
messy. What do you want to talk about? Or where are you calling from?
I'm calling from La Crosse, Wisconsin.
La Crosse, Wisconsin again. Oh, that's right. Can you get a little closer to your mic or whatever? I've turned you up to 200%.
Yep. Let me just change my sensitivity a little bit, and then.
Yep. Maybe just a little louder too. But what would you like to talk about?
So my take was that C9 systems are a real advantage, and they're a major reason why the org has been so successful. And it was kind of referencing the Reddit post where Jack tweeted systems, and then there's a bunch of comments regarding it. Majority of the comments were talking about how it's results-based analysis, and then I know Max was asked the question at the conference, and I believe your response was it's hard to know, like, if the systems actually have an impact on it. Or paraphrasing it, maybe I'm representing your answer wrong, but yeah, that was my take. And I guess I can start. To me, like when I think of C9 systems, I don't think of it as like the structure of the day completely. I think of it as the workplace environment. I think of it as the like freedom that the management and coaches have from Jack, and like the obviously every LCS player is going to deal with stress because of their job, but more or less the less stressful position they're put in because of the expectations Jack has. At least that's what it's given off through player interviews, and players that have come from previous teams and have explained the atmosphere is just different at C9 because of things like that, and it feels that way when you listen to their content. And so when I think of C9 systems, again, I don't think of like it's the daily structure. You go to a meeting at this time, you go to work out at this time, you do this at this time. Although I think all those have benefits, they teach young people responsibility and accountability, which help them. I think it also goes beyond the actual daily structure, the things that are hard to quantify.
Gotcha. Okay. So here's my take on the systems thing. I feel like it was just a throwaway word that they used to keep things vague in that video, and then it became a giant fucking meme, and now everybody actually somehow has turned it away from being a meme into a thing where they actually think this is like some crazy Cloud9 system infrastructure thing that they've built. And so now it's created a really weird situation for people like Max who have to somehow come up with the idea that there's like these crazy systems that C9 has built because they decided to use this one single word in a video and it became a meme. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm curious, Max, if you will admit it if it's true.
There's a funny like alternate reality where Jack said, "We have our own philosophies," and then suddenly philosophy is the joke.
Exactly. It's like it's all about the philosophies that they have and the way that they've approached this. Yeah, no, exactly, Mark. That's a perfect example of what I'm thinking of, right? Like I just feel like it was a random word given like a 0.2 seconds of thought before it was said, and now it's become this like thing that the org has to somehow justify as a concept.
I walked the Christian my entire day.
Sorry.
What's that?
You want to add on to it?
Yeah. So to me, like that's why I try to explain. Like, I'm not looking at. I completely agree with you, Travis. Like, you could have used any word. That's why I think the word's interchangeable. It could be culture. It could be philosophy. It could be anything. I think like the idea behind it isn't, again, a actual system or structure, which plays a part of it. That's like a piece of the pie, but you could interchange that with culture. A lot of like, I'm an older fan. I'm 30, so I watch a ton of traditional sports, and almost every traditional coach comes in saying we're implementing a new culture, and those things have like actual impacts on the team and how the players, perform. So I don't want to, and I don't want this to be taken away from the players because obviously it's up to them on the day of the games. They are the ones who have to perform, and I think Zazel even mentioned that like it's out of their hands when the games start. So, and it's not taking away from Max, you either, and the impact you guys had. I'm just saying like if
we get it. Let's get to Max's response. We're at 9:00 now. Max, what do you think?
Oh my God, it's 9:00. I don't think that the systems is like it's a vague thing, and people have filled a bunch of ideas into it of like what they think it is. I walked you guys through my entire day. There's just like meetings about what we're gonna do in that day. So I guess you could say like the systems, or that we have a lot of meetings. I think
Every company has systems that.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was saying every company that has systems, right? Like meetings are not.
Yes. Everyone's gonna have meetings. I think Cloud9 has the best managers. I'm pretty sure that fucking Johnny Pulati, David Hahn, and Jonathan Tran and shit are just the best fucking managers in the LCS. So if you're gonna say that there's like a system that's helping like Cloud9 succeed, is that our managers make sure we do everything right, that we're not late to anything. They keep us together, and the moment they leave, we're lost, and we don't know how to fend for ourselves without our managers. So that's a system
Max.
that I think that Cloud9 does have. Yeah.
Max, we just talked about how you're woefully underpaid for your position, and you just admitted that you're not really anything special, and it's your team managers, sir.
I do my best, you know. But I gotta shout out the managers of Cloud9 for putting in the effort. I think I do all right, but I don't like to take credit for too much around here. Maybe that's why, Mark, I'm woefully underpaid. The 6 to the 10th.
God, this is not going to become a thing where
LCS
people go on Twitter and Reddit and say Travis says that Max Waldo is woefully underpaid because of what you guys have done.
Boom! Travis said it. Travis confirmed it.
Travis bomb. Travis bomb. Oh shit. So I mean, you've been there for a year now, so a little over a year, right? So you can have some level of insight into overarching stuff. Like, is it just the team managers? Does Jack have any say in it? Because on the LCS broadcast, we had talked about how C9 has made a finals every single year of LCS, which is pretty impressive. So, like, do you think there's any truth beyond the team managers, whether you call it whatever term you want to call it, but like, or do you think it's like, is it Jack specifically? I don't want you to say like, no, Jack doesn't matter, but like, exactly, what have you seen over the years, maybe beyond just like individual people helping out?
Beyond like individual people.
Well, because you named the managers, right? And like, I'm sure they're great at their job, but is there a bigger thing at all at play?
Oh, like a systems where it's like we have this like methodology of making every decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're actually trying to do that more because we think that's a good idea to have like some sort of like very specific methodology about like making like how you make decisions. I mean, it does exist to a certain extent, but it's not like super explicit. It probably should be. We probably should have like a clear, defined set of rules for like how we make every single choice. But at least in like a lot of decisions that I'm making in just like meetings that we have, it's like, oh, I definitely have an internal set of like rules and checks that I'm going through for like making these choices. I'm sure all the managers do. I'm sure all the coaches do. We didn't like write it up on the wall or something. We're just having a meeting.
No systems.
Dude, Mark, at some point in time,
there's no guiding principles at Cloud9.
At some point in time, Max was
why they're so
standing.
good every year. They're just winging it.
You guys aren't winging it.
Max was standing behind the players during a draft, and he looked out in the LCS studio and saw somebody with the systems with the 9 thing as like a sign, and he's just like, that is a good idea. We should have some of those.
One of them said ban like Yumi, and he's like, maybe I will this game.
Ban Seraphine.
I mean, this has been.
We should say that.
It's
no, nothing like this.
It's so fucking funny to just see the path of this, right? Like, it was in a video. People were looking for literally any single word to latch on to just scream at Jack, and then they use this word, and now it's become this thing where you guys are getting asked about it in press conferences, and we're getting callers, and it's just like, it's so fucking. I just don't. I really think you're probably a great coach, Max. I expect that you do things very similarly to many other coaches in the LCS and the broader LoL esports ecosystem, and like so does C9, and so it's very funny what this has become.
I think we do a fantastic job.
I'm not saying you do a bad job. I'm saying you probably do. You probably are not coaching and running, and this team is not getting run in a radically different way than every other organization out there.
It's not. You think it's like similar?
I think it's probably similar. Yes, I think
Yeah.
we haven't gotten to the point yet where LCS teams and the broader LL esports teams are all like doing things radically different and have radically different systems and philosophies. You know.
Yeah,
I
I don't
think-
think I don't think you go to a different organization. You just see like totally different. Like, yeah, I think it's like, I think there's marginal differences, but yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot of similar stuff.
Yeah.
And there's not a super well defined way of making like decisions. Like, you're not gonna read like this like flow chart of like if this then this all the way down and have it written on the wall for everybody to agree on. Like, every individual is having these like ideas in their head about like how to make the best decision, what parts of this idea are like valuable, how do I make a better choice, how to make a better decision. But we should do a much better job of making it like explicit to everybody and like getting those agreements from each other. I think that's good.
It's funny you say that because like most companies, like a big company, you go to it and they have like their pillars, you know, and they'll have like a couple like short, punctual players first, if you're right, you know, like you have these like things, and it's just funny to hear. The systems aren't real. We don't have a guiding like North Star, as you sometimes call it, as like your thing. You know, we're winging it.
It happens. It's like it happens in practice, but it's just not like written on the wall or anything.
Well, yeah, and to be clear, that's how a lot of stuff are like. Sometimes these things are just bullshit, right? At companies, they're just
absolutely, and especially on small teams, you don't fucking need it because you guys are already aligned because like you're working there, or like, you know, people have enough individual freedom or control that like their thoughts are the philosophy. Like Steve clearly had his roster building philosophy for since he got franchised. You know, throw money at it. That was his philosophy, more or less. If you have money, throw it at the problem. You know, like I think people have had different. I think there is more, whether it's influenced by money or not. There are seeming to be different philosophies in the LCS. I would assume Peter Dunn
but they're
has
just
a different
defined by the groups of people that are there, right? Like for a long time, C9 was like the friend group, like back in the day, and like it was sort of based off of everybody working together, and you had High doing all this stuff. Like it's as to your point, Mark, it's like so hard to actually have like a system in a small team where like you make one roster change and that's 20% of the team that's changed, and now like obviously chemistry is going to be different. You know, it's just
like what was the guiding principle behind that? It wasn't working. The end. It's like, okay.
What was the guiding principle? That guy was toxic as fuck, and we don't want to play with him anymore.
He couldn't play half the meta matchups.
It's simple stuff like that. No one's out here writing the Bible and
Right,
like the 10 commandments for team building. I haven't seen these things, and I don't think they're out there right now in League of Legends.
Messe, I'm so sorry. I feel like we've just utterly destroyed your take, unintentionally, but hopefully that's okay. Are you doing all right?
Yeah. I think I tried to at the beginning of the call explain like when I think of systems, I don't think of it as a structure like that, like the meeting. I think of it more as a culture. So that's why I guess my follow-up question to Max, if I can ask one, is Max, do you think C9's like culture from management and top down, because you would imagine it comes from Jack to his
Well, I think he was
and...
saying this with the managers, right? He was saying that they've got really good managers.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But do you think that those managers are as, and this is not taken away from them, but are as good as they are because of the way that they interact with Jack and the way, like, say, Jack interacts with them, and then also how they interact with you allows you to feel comfortable to do your job to the best of your ability. Whereas if you were in a different culture where maybe you were more stressed, had more worries, that you would possibly make decisions differently because of, you know, again, those stresses that may be coming from top down.
Like, sure, but I don't know what Cloud9 is doing specifically different than other teams to just like reduce stress overall. Is there like some de-stress like pill that like is just being handed out? Like, what is
in the air?
different?
It's in the AC, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
and
the
that's why I said
branding.
I think everyone in the league gets stressed. You can't reduce it. I think to a significant level, but from the perception from the outside, and again, obviously, you know more than anyone else. It seems like the culture that Jack has created, which led him to hire the people that are in management, which leads them to interact with you and the players the way that they do, is like a system. It's not a checkbox, you know, like you guys are describing a system. It's more of a culture that he's created that allows the people below him to feel like they can work to the best of their ability.
Messe, thank you so much.
The same stressors.
Thank you for the call. Is there anything that you want to shout out before we start to say goodbye?
Oh, Travis has
Yeah.
cut the cord.
We're playing them out.
It sounds
Yeah,
like you want to have an interview with Jack. It sounds like you should DM Jack and talk to him about the systems. I'm just here to tell you that I just have some simple principles for how I should interact. So it's I try to be friends with everybody that I work with every day. I try to be nice to them. Trying to
That's
say
fucked
mean
up.
things. So I guess that's a way that you can reduce stress is be nice to people, don't harshly criticize people, and try to stay solution focused. Maybe that's a system. I'm not sure.
Messe,
Perfect.
thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, your guys' content, I like listening to it while I work. It makes the workday go by quick. And then just the C9 squad, Jack and everyone, all from the coaches to the players. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, Max. 2 things before we can let you go. Number 1, give yourself credit for one good thing you did this year. I want to hear one specific thing where you're like, oh, I nailed that. Dude, I had this one time. I still hang my hat on it. I got my team first blood from some scouting I did. I was like, they always do this shit. LMQ always does this. And I got us first blood, and I was like, that was me. You know,
I'm waiting
what's
for
something...
Max to come out and say, through a series of complicated maneuvers, I got LS removed, took his job, and crowned myself head coach and lifted a trophy at the end of the year.
I'm not gonna say that. So something that I'll take credit for. Damn, there's just I just execute on good ideas. Let me think of a good idea that is all my own that I can actually say is all my own.
Yeah, because
I
the players
thought
seem
this
to take credit for a lot of the things that you do. So
I would
you should
assume
try
you had
something.
something. This
Yeah.
is a little concerning that you don't instantly have oh, I did this pretty good this one time.
I just give credit out a lot. So it's there's stuff that we did really well. So we have scouting reports that we did on EG and 100 and CLG, for example, that I thought were really good. But I can't just take credit for the whole thing. It's just not that simple. It's really
Were
hard
two
to think
players
of.
going to get in a fist fight and you diffused it?
You have a
Did
good draft at some point in time?
There weren't many big fights or arguments.
Did you get them some coffee in the morning and you didn't spill it on the way?
Okay, I still can't take full credit for this, but what I'll go with is that I think the tone of our conversations was very heavily solutions focused, very principle based, and I think that's because I kept trying to direct the conversation towards how can we make better decisions in the future, and keeping it about the problem instead of problems with people. That it's not somebody's fault. It's something that we have to do better or solve together. It's going to be a culture of teamwork and solutions instead of every person for themselves. Maybe something along those lines.
Okay, cool.
Accepted.
Now, number 2 is Pokemon cards. Let's do it. Or Pokemon that they are.
Okay.
What? Yeah, re-ask the question, Mark, because people might have missed the beginning of the show.
We asked Max what he did for fun, and basically the only answer he could give was Pokemon. And so I asked him to describe each of his players as a Pokemon. Which one are they?
A day is 12 hours of work, and then it's oh, I can play Pokemon if I want now. So I looked through it. It's only Gen 1. So I was looking through through this whole show. I barely paid attention. The whole time I was looking at Pokemon. So I guess it was just resemblance or reminding me of. So I'm getting Pokemon that remind me of players or Pokemon that resemble players is what I went with. Fudge, Golem. Blabber, Krabby. Boom.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like how you went Krabby and not Kingler either. You went the
Krabby.
the unevolved form.
Jensen, I was looking at Abra and Kadabra, but I went with the one Abra looks more tired. Abra. Berserker, I had Squirtle, Jolteon, and Psyduck. I'm going with Psyduck for Berserker.
Why Psyduck?
No, I can
Psyduck,
see it.
Squirtle, or Jolteon.
Psyduck
He's
already-
tired in the morning.
Yeah, he already seems
Really
a little
tired
out of
in
it
the morning.
sometimes.
Yeah. And I was having a hard time for Sven, so I was just looking for something two arms, two legs, because a lot of Pokemon aren't actually humanoid. So for Sven, it was changing between Hitmonchan, Machamp, and eventually I went with Hitmonlee. Sven has really long legs. So.
That's good.
Okay.
I like it.
Do you guys
Hopefully we
have
get some
any
fan art.
improvements or optimizations? They'll probably hear this.
You could do Snorlax for Berserker if it's really just him being tired.
Ooh, Snorlax. Okay, writing it down. Okay.
Yeah.
Golem for Fudge.
Yeah.
I kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Clabber's Krabby is a really good one.
It's
That's the best
perfect.
one,
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Sven is Machoke. Yeah, I went through that whole line. I wrote down
Sven is
Machop,
Meowth.
deleted it. I wrote down Meowth for Blabber too, but I went with Krabby.
What about Sludge for Fudge?
Kangaskhan for Fudge is good.
Ooh,
What about
Kangaskhan.
Sludge for Fudge? Because Fudge is kind of toxic
Sludge.
publicly, right? So.
That's another good one too. Sludge. C9's Sludge.
It's so
C9's
close,
Sludge.
right? It's so close.
Are any of them Ekans? Do you have a snake on your team who's like secretly toxic, but like isn't always like forthright with it? Because Fudge is like outwardly toxic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like Jensen's been toxic in the past, but he's like super reformed. You can make him Ekans or Arbok.
Chad is asking if Hotline League is over, which probably means this conversation should be over. Mark, what do you want to shout out here at the end of the show?
Shout out Grubhub, I guess, for not ruining my night, unlike other delivery services.
We got to work on your sponsor promotion. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you're doing this week, Mark?
Blame game?
Okay. I just didn't know if there was anything you wanted to promote. Like, I don't know if you're going to be streaming more, if you're going to be...
No, I have to... So, there's 2 weeks until play-ins. I got to watch VODs of these teams that are going to get 0-6 and go home.
Don't talk about EG that way. Max.
I have some shout-outs to do.
Yes. I was going to ask you for your shout-outs, so go for it.
Yeah, shout-out to Cloud9. Going to be streaming tomorrow at noon. We're going to be doing King of the Cloud, which I assume is some 1v1s. You can tune in to watch me play Ornn only in those 1v1s if I'm given the choice to. Shout out to my mom and shit. Watching all the interviews I do, texting me pictures of it. Yeah, that's good.
Kobe's I think going to be doing that too. I saw him tweet about it, so that seems like a cool event.
Raz will be there, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting that Mark and I won't be, but I guess we just didn't get invited. Okay. For me, stick around because I've got a couple things. One, I'm going to bribe you guys to stick around to watch the second episode of Rings of Power with me on stream because I've got a Twitch bounty for it. But I'm going to also show you guys the first of 2 surprise tests that I did with the casters. So that'll be hitting the channel probably the same day as this VOD for the show, so tomorrow. But I will show it on stream if everybody who watches it promises me that they will stick around and leave the stream on for Rings of Power as I watch it on stream. But that's going on. I did a whole bunch of really cool content coming out from this past event. I got surprise tests with people like Tyler1 and Cutie Cinderella and Hanser, who are all equally famous. And make sure to stick around. Thank you so much, Max. Congratulations on the win. It was awesome for you guys to fulfill my prophecy. So thank you for that. And stick around. But thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Cool. Thank you.